I just wanted to do a quick video on how to get better photos on the laser, how to get better engravings, darker and more detail at least than I was getting before. So you just want to pick the photo that you want, and I'm just reset this one just to show you exactly how I would do it. I use Lightroom and Photoshop, so you want to crop it pretty close because you only want the bike, or you only want the subject that you want, so just make sure you ain't got too much extra. And now what I normally do is turn the shadows all the way up. I mean, every photo is different, but I mean with this one you can see it's a little bit dark around the wheels, and I'm just going to brighten it all up a bit and take the highlights down a bit. Just whites up, just kind of mess with it till it looks a little bit bright and pale. I like to put the clarity all the way up, or nearly all the way up, and then the texture, same thing, turn it up a bit till it gets, you know, till you can see it pretty clear. And then I'll right click it, go to editing, Photoshop, and that should open it up in Photoshop. Alright, so once you're in Photoshop, click on adjustment layer down the bottom here, the little circle, and choose black and white. And now anything that's underneath, I'm going to duplicate that, anything that's underneath this adjustment layer is going to be black and white. So, and yeah, just do that as well, duplicate it so you've always got the spare. And now with this you can double click on the black and white layer and it'll bring up this box. And now, depending on how you mess with these will depend, you know, as you can see as I'm moving that slider, anything that's red in the photo is either brightening it right up or darkening it down. So really you just want to mess around with these until you're happy with, I mean anything that's black is going to be etched and anything that's white is not. So but you want to make sure it's pretty bright, a lot of it, because these will darken down once you get it on the laser. So I'm going to just leave it at that for a second. I'm going to go back to my main layer because I want to cut this out from the background. So hopefully select subject, hopefully it does a good job. If not, there's a couple other ways, either using the pen tool, or there's the one way I like to do it is if you press Q on the keyboard, that's quick mask, and then whatever's not selected will turn red like that. Then you can just use your brush tool to fill it in. So just make sure your hardness on the brush is all the way up, flow on your brush is all the way up, and then you can just zoom in a bit by pressing Z, clicking the left mouse button and moving either left or right, click and drag. The more you can do now, the easier it'll be, or the better it'll come out. So it's worth just a little bit of extra messing around. Right, that looks good. Right, now what I normally do as well is go to the adjustment layer again, go to solid colour, turn it to white, say OK, and then on the opacity, leave it at normal. On the opacity, just turn it down. Till it's a little bit pale like that. And then one last thing, if you want to make it a bit better, is make another layer. Go to Edit, Fill, and then fill it with 50% grey. And then change that to Overlay. Just going to mask that. Alright, and now with this, what you can do is click onto here. Anything you paint with black, I've got to turn this down. You want to turn your hardness all the way down to 0. Turn your flow down to about, just turn it down low, like maybe 4, even down as low as 2. And then stuff that you want to pop out more, just click on your brush and just go over it a little bit, and you can see it darkens it up. Maybe 4 is a little bit much. I'm going to put it down to 2. And the more you go over it, the darker it'll get, like you can see there. I don't quite want it that dark, but you can just click around to how you want it. Just brings back a bit of detail. And you can do it with white as well, so you can switch the colour to white, and that'll make dark things stick out better. But you can see it just defines the edges a bit better for the laser. Maybe I'll just go right over it like that. Okay, just get in there. Oh, and one last thing, if you come back down to the layer where you cut it out, press Control and click on the photo, and it'll select it again. Just make one last new layer and go to Edit, Stroke, make sure it's on black, and just stroke a few pixels around the edge. If it looks a bit thick like that, just press Ctrl and Z, and then just go Edit, Stroke, and now change 5 pixels to like maybe 3 pixels. Oh, here as well, location, you want it on the outside. Okay, now press Ctrl and D, that'll deselect, and now we got this. I'm going to give it just a last little rub over with a brush in a couple of areas. Just to define them a bit better. And then change that to white, just give the white a little touch up. Okay, now File, Export as a PNG, save it where you want to save it. Downloads, I'll save mine. And just name it whatever, save. Now go to, or what I'll do is go to image R, restart with new image. Yours just load like this, say upload. Now the one you just done, double click. Better hurry up before I run out of space on the computer in this video. You just have to wait a second. These are big photos, so it takes a minute to come up. So you can see it's 20 inches long, 8 inches tall. Right, what you want to do, or what I do on here, is go to resize, change your dots per inch to 318, and then change pixels to inches and just make sure that that's the size you want it. I'm going to leave mine at that size. So just say OK, and now it'll just work that out. Just click OK once. You can see up the top it's loading. Okay, scroll down again. Now you see it's getting there. So now you want to say material. I've got a CO2 laser. It's going onto wood. Okay. Just have to wait again. Just make sure you only click OK once. And then just, you can check up the top, just make sure that's spinning around, and then you know you've definitely clicked it. Yep, there it goes. Right, so this is how it's showing on wood. I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see. Right, so now download PNG because we don't want the background. Just close this, and you'll see it's downloaded there at the bottom. Now if you click it right out of there and drag it on top of your Lightburn, and then just let it go. Now you got it in Lightburn. Now I press preview, and you can see that's how it is at the moment. I'll carry on the video when I get outside. I'm just going to save this onto a memory card and then take the memory card outside, and then I'll carry on from there. Okay, I'm outside on the laser computer now, so I just put the card in. So now I'm going to get that file from indoors, which was this one. I went back to Photoshop and just brought the details out a bit more. As you can see on that grey layer, I just went around these squares and around the things that I really wanted to stick out. So yeah, the more you mess with it on Photoshop, you can see the difference. When I zoomed in, I noticed that the edges of some of the signs was missing. So you can see if you go and do that on the grey layer, brings back a lot of that detail. So I did that, that's why there's two. So I'm going to get rid of this one for a minute. Just put it on another layer so it's out of the way. Okay, so on this one now that we want to do, first thing that you want to do really is make sure this is set to pass through. Oh sorry, change the dots per inch first to 318 like we did on the image R. Change the speed. You've got to just try out your different speeds and stuff. What works for me is 400 speed with between like 12 to 14 power. I'm going to say 13 maximum power, and then 9, that's as low as my laser fire's minimum power. No air assist because it's an etching. It don't matter what this is set to here, because when we turn on pass through, it's gonna get rid of all them. It will say threshold, but it's not, it's using this. So everything else is correct. Yep, okay. Okay, so now we've got this and that. Right, the next thing I want to do is see the size of it. So up the top here you can see it's just over 20 inches by nearly 8 inches. So I'm just going to get a piece of wood and do that, and then just add a bit of borax into it. I'll just show you. Just got this. I'll just show you exactly how to do it. Okay, so the piece of wood I was going to use is this piece here. I think I might cut it down to the 10 inches wide, give me an inch or so either side. Actually, I won't. It don't look. All you got to make sure is it's very flat when it goes in the laser. When you cut it down first, you can flatten it out a bit better. But this actually looks like quite a good piece. So what I normally do now is this is a mixture of borax, just a couple of teaspoons full of borax, just in water. Just give it a little bit of a shake up. Pour a bit out on the wood. Not too much, but it don't matter really how much. And then just make sure you spread the whole thing. You'll see once it's wet, you'll see where it's wet. It needs to be damp like that really. Or at least this works for me. Just give it a good rub. Back on the computer, we want to sand this. Let's turn this one off. So we've only got that one. Yeah. Make sure it's not too close to the top. You want to make sure that you can get a good fixing all the way around with the hold down. So I'm going to put it just down here a bit. No air output. Yeah. So send. Yeah, I'll just name it Lightburn. I've already got one named that, so overwrite it, yes. See, a few seconds. And now it should be over here, so file. Enter. And I'll give it a second to load. Say frame. And you can see here how far it is away from the bed, which when I frame it, you can see how much closer it gets in the middle. It's nearly touching. Like, that's not good, so you got to make sure this is really well pinned down. So I'll show you one of these. I just made up these clips like this, which is simple to make. I made these out of acrylic. Just make sure they're the right size to poke in your bed, and then you can just push it in. It pins it down pretty well. If you make sure the top of it is no thicker than the 6mm, and then your laser won't be able to bump into it either. So make sure it's pretty flat. It's getting there. A couple of more in the middle, just to hold that down. That's really important, because otherwise the borax won't work properly. Alright, next thing, let's just frame this one more time. Okay, you can see that's much better. Now what I like to do is come to roughly where the centre of the engraving is going to be. And then they do give you this block, which is 6mm, which I find is not quite, it's good for cutting, but for etching it's not so good. The gap you want here is 7mm. I haven't made nothing up yet, but I know that these two, this and this on top of it, is perfect. So I'm just going to fix that. See with this one, just got a little bit of space. It's 7mm, this is 6mm, and mine is best at 7. So let's just frame that one more time, make sure it stays quite consistent. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so with my hair, I have it out the window like this. Just pull that back. Should be ready to go. Just double check. 400 at 13, and that's what we're doing. So yeah, start. Come out quite dark straight away. I'm going to change this to a time lapse, so it'll be much quicker. Alright, it's just finished, and this is how it comes right off the machine. You've done it right. You can see down here it started to maybe go a little bit out of focus, that's why it's browner. This is much darker. I should have really cut this square out first, but anyway, it came out pretty good. But yeah, you can see. All these signs, you can basically read them still, considering he was going probably 150 mile an hour or more. But one thing with this, now this is done, you just got to make sure not to touch it. If you touch that black whatsoever, you'll smudge it. So really, the next thing you got to do to finish it off is to clear coat it. So let me just, I'm literally going to just lay it down there, grab my clear coat. This is actually running out. Hopefully I've got enough to do it, and then just give it a little coat of clear coat, and that'll just seal it all in place. Yep. Give that a little while, and that'll be dried, and then I'll put it back on once it's dried. But yeah, there you go. That's roughly how I do it.